Okay. I'd like to call to order a special meeting that was duly advertised in the Delaware County Daily Times regarding the American Rescue Plan discussion and public comment. As a preface to this meeting, we have other meetings scheduled this evening, and we're trying to keep this to a half-hour schedule. If we have to go over, naturally, we will. As people are aware, Concord Township was entitled to an allocation of the money from the American Rescue Plan. There are parameters that are stated in what it can and cannot be used for. We are here tonight to hear what you have to say. We want to listen. We're not here to make any decisions on what to do with the money. We do feel, though, that whatever we do, we would like it to benefit the most amount of our residents. So perhaps there might be some particular projects that might just benefit one area. We would have to take that into consideration when we make that decision. But we're not here to make any decisions tonight. We're here just to hear what you have to say regarding this, and there will be more to follow. That's the best I can do right now. That being said, I was going to hand it over to Colleen Marone, who's got a little PowerPoint that she was going to go through with us.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Showing what she knows about or is under her understanding of the Rescue Act.
So obviously, this American Rescue Act can have amazing impact for not only Concord Township, but our local community and throughout the country. This $350 billion of direct financial relief that is being distributed to states, local, and tribal governments. On the next slide, Amanda. There's a lot of things that we can do with these funds, and there's a lot of things that we can't do with these funds. Our purpose is to try to find the best impact and use for the funds that Concord Township will be awarded, that will be able to invest in economic multipliers throughout Concord Township. On the next slide, you can see Pennsylvania's allocation and the amount that went to counties and municipalities throughout all of Pennsylvania. $561 million going to townships. The timing of the distributions, the first round of funds were distributed back in July of this year. We received half of the funds, and we expect to receive the second half of funds within a year of the first payment. In Delaware County, we received $1.773 million. So we're on this first half of the chart, about halfway down, 1.7, almost $1.8 million. One of the largest distributions throughout the entire county of Delaware County. So that contribution, actually, I'm sorry, this contribution here of the 1.7 was actually updated. When the final contributions were allocated, we received $1.8 million, almost $1.9 million. So we did get a slight increase in the amount. The first contribution, the half was deposited into our account at the end of June, beginning of July, $938,516. We will receive the second amount within the year. These funds must be spent before December 31st of 2024. And Delaware County and Garnet Valley School District received their own distributions. So it's important that, not only did the township receive funds, but we also received funds in a school district and throughout Delaware County. The guidelines continue to get developed, and questions and answers on how to use them, how to use the funds, what they can be used for and what they can't be used for. But as we see it today and what's been shared through different webinars and question and answer sheets with local municipalities, are that we can use these funds for COVID emergency or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and to nonprofits, We can aid to impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. It can be used for premium pay for essential workers. Restrictions are on these amounts. It can be used for lost revenue replacement related to COVID-19, using 2019 as the base year. And it can be used for infrastructure investments in water, sewer, and broadband. It can't be used for roads and bridges, pension funds, and to offset revenue resulting from state tax cuts. Obviously, this is just a short abbreviated list of what it can and can't be used for, but it provides us with a tremendous opportunity to assist our community in recovering as quickly as we possibly can from this pandemic. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Colleen. I think if my colleagues agree, what we would ask is anybody that has any suggestions or any comments, if they would come up to the microphone. Amanda, we usually like to get their name and their address.
Correct.
And then we will make note of it. And when we have another meeting, we will be sure to include them in the invite to that meeting specifically, although it will also go out to everybody as it has in the past. So whoever wants to go first. Fire company want to go first? Go.
You guys can hear that, right? Let's take this guy for a test drive.
Okay, we'll try again. My name is Lee Weersing. I'm president of the Concordville Fire Company. I do reside in Thornton, Pennsylvania, not Concord Township, just so it's the address. We came here tonight to look to see if we could get some relief for some of the losses that the fire company incurred during COVID. Basically, losses in revenue from ambulance. We did not break it out for the year 2019 versus 2021, but rather the period of March 2019 to March of 2020 versus March 2020 and to 21. And what we have is in the 19 to 20, we had $1,291,893 of revenue from ambulance. The following year, as we called it, it was $1,035,005, which gave us a loss of $256,888. And the revenue can be attributed to a reduction of ambulance calls due to residents' fear of being exposed to COVID by EMS workers, emergency rooms, and hospital staff. So our calls went down, EMS calls, 327 calls total. And the reduction in transports, because not every call is a transport, it was 264. So the time period of March 2019 to March of 2020, we had 3,311 calls. And then the following year, which we kind of divided up because of the influence of COVID, the big hit, February of 2020 to March of 2021 was 2,984, which was a reduction of 327. So on other parts of the losses and gains, it kind of worked out for us with salaries and things like that because we did get money from the federal government. We also didn't spend money on fuel like we did because we weren't running as much. So what we spent on supplies and equipment and things like that for COVID and salaries and everything like that was kind of washed out by the money from the government. Also, we did see a influx and an improvement in resident contributions too. So all that kind of worked out, but our big loss is on the ambulance end of things. The fire company is presently operating at a loss, but we do have surplus, so we're using that to take that loss till we get down to a certain point, and at which point then we'll be talking to the various townships, but we aren't at that point right now. So basically what we're looking for is the loss for ambulance revenue, and our loss was $256,888. And I have a copy of this if you would like this, or breakdown.
Yeah, I think if you just give it to Amanda, we'll review it. And thank you for your comments.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, yes, sir. Ma'am, you want to go? We'll go here first. Okay, come on.
All right. Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name's Joseph Daddy. I'm at 49 Bittersweet Drive. I serve as president for Fox Valley Community Services, FVCS is the abbreviation. We are the nonprofit organization responsible for the collection and processing of wastewater for the Fox Valley development. FVCS provides sewer service to 175 homes, over 100 condos, and a commercial property. I'm here today to request a portion of the American Rescue Plan funds to finance a permanent connection to the Concord Township sewer system. Our treatment plant, at 55 years old, is at the end of its useful life. If a permanent connection to Concord Township utilizing a pump station is not made within the next few years, we risk a mechanical and/or environmental disaster. Any significant failure of this plant will result in hundreds of properties losing sewer service for an unknown period of time and will be a great financial hardship for the residents of Fox Valley. In addition to a permanent connection to Concord Township, the Fox Valley Board of Directors is requesting an immediate takeover of our system, which will provide over $100,000 in annual revenue to the Concord Township Sewer Department. Lastly, Fox Valley Community Services will dissolve and cease to exist once this connection is made. Our greatest asset, 11 acres adjacent to the west branch of the Chester Creek, will need to be protected. It's in the best interest of Fox Valley and Concord Township that this property be donated and protected in perpetuity as Concord Township open space. I have copies for everyone. Thank you very much.
If you leave that with Amanda, that would be great. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Joan Spiegelman, and I live at Maris Grove. And I applaud you for wanting to have this discussion on how the township should use the funds that we become available through the American Rescue Plan. However, for somebody in the public who is not representing a specific organization, it is very difficult for us to have any kind of discussion with you on how this money should be spent without our knowing what the impact financially has been on the township from COVID, such as, did the township lose tax revenue because of COVID? We don't know that. That's a legitimate spending of rescue plan money. But first you've got to tell me, for me to support that you lost that money. Also, what has been the impact of COVID on the essential workers, people who work in our supermarkets, et cetera, in our township? If I don't know what the impact has been, I cannot react to that. And I could go down the whole list of what kinds of issues and challenges are available for these funds, but if I do not know what your shortfall and what your needs are, I cannot comment on them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next.
Ken Hempill, 39 Mill Race Place. Oh, sorry. Can any of the funds be used for trails? Is that a gray area as far as infrastructure?
Yes, that would certainly be a gray area.
It's not expressly forbidden, but doesn't say.
I've read the act twice. I'll read it again specifically for trails, but my first impression is no, it would not be. When it comes to infrastructure, it pretty much concentrated in the areas of water, public sewers, storm sewer involvement. And they were essentially the areas that they spoke to. Not roads, not necessarily the acquisition of open space or trails or that type of thing.
With regard to sewers, I'm curious if, well, I'd be in favor of sewering more areas of the township, but also exploring some alternative technologies that are pretty new and pretty exciting. One is graphene oxide. It's a new filtration system. I'm not sure if it's actually, available to all municipalities who want it, but what comes out the other side of this filter is almost pure water, pure
What was
drink.
that called again, graphite?
Graphene oxide. It's a high-tech filter using graphene, and
Thank you.
it's pretty exciting. So it would minimize a lot of chemical use, save a lot of money for the township, and what comes out the other side is almost drinkable. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Tony, do you have anything from Gritsville? Read this one.
Yes, to the trail issue, one of the questions I have, Tony Shahan from Newland Gristmill, live at 207 Cheney Road. With the COVID, we had an increase of 25% of wear and tear on our facilities. We typically serve about 48,000 people through our property a year. We estimate based on spot counts, but we estimate we were around 60,000 people. We have trails that we never had before that were grassed areas. We have trails that are now about 2 inches deeper than what they were. And this was all before the flooding, of course. But we did take a pretty good hit to our infrastructure in trying to serve the community around us. So that assistance with things like that would be very helpful for us.
Okay. I think you might have said it the best, and Colleen in her presentation. There's still some gray areas here that we're sifting through, but your suggestions have been noted, and in future deliberations, we'll see if we can't get some answers to that.
Thank you very much.
Would you have any ideas, sir, if you had to spend additional revenues, did your organization have to spend additional monies in overall maintenance or other issues related to COVID?
I know we spent probably about $15,000 to $20,000 on security and traffic control on our property, as well as some staffing just to keep up with trash and other increases in our property, the use of our property.
Thank you.
Tony, are you, did you see any loss in revenue? Obviously, folks were using the property outside, the trails and so forth, but did you see a loss because you had activities that you would have normally planned that you weren't able to plan, fundraisers, anything like that?
Yeah, our estimated loss is about $96,000 for the year.
So $96,000 in loss plus an additional expenditure of potentially $15,000 to $20,000.
That's just program loss.
Correct.
The $96,000.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I guess I would like to thank everyone for coming out. There will be more meetings following up on this. I think that we had one comment, although this is an in-person meeting. We had a gentleman, Sam Ferrielli on Shavertown Road, did send an email on Friday, and I might as well just add it into the record. He had two suggestions. One was public water. His comment is, it is astronomically expensive cost for Suez, which is the water provider on Shavertown Road, to provide service to a home for a main already in place on Shavertown Road. The suggestion was use some funds to help offset homeowners' cost. In the end, the more public services in the township, the more everyone benefits. Second was stormwater management. Put some real storm sewers in place with containment curb much like was done on Kirk Road 15-plus years ago. I want to thank everyone for coming out. We do have 2 other meetings. Again, as I said at the beginning, we were not required to have this meeting or this hearing, but in the spirit of transparency, we wanted to see what the residents thought, and we are nowhere close to making a decision at this time. And as I said, just stay tuned. There'll be more to follow. We'll probably have a couple more of these. John, you have something?
Yeah, Amanda, did we hear anything from the Rachel Cole Library in terms of any potential impact that COVID had on them?
Nothing official.
Would you be able to reach out to the library and see if they would be able to provide any impact? Because I'm just thinking about the functions that are serviced in the township, such as the fire company, such as the grist mill, the library, things like that. Would be good to the residents' point, to really fully understand the scope, so that we are inclusive in our consideration.
My understanding is they're working on that, and they will be getting it to all the municipalities in their service area. So we'll probably be seeing that and can discuss it further at a future meeting.
I'm also thinking, there are other organizations such as BYC and Darlington Arts as well, which I'm sure, because we obviously think about the residents, individuals who live in the township who have been affected, but also certainly our businesses. So not just organizations and nonprofits, but also our restaurants and other organizations. So there's no real way to quantify that, unless Dominic, I don't know, do you have any thoughts on restaurants' impact?
No, I really don't have, I want to hear what everybody had to say tonight. I do think that we'll have to have a couple more brainstorming sessions. I am aware that the library is looking at how it impacted, just as it impacted the firehouse and the grits mill. And I think you might have also talked to Darlington. They were looking at their numbers. So we'll either get something in writing from them before we next meet, and we can talk about it at that time. That being said, I'd like to have a motion to close this meeting.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have 2 other things on the agenda, but they are not scheduled to start till 7 p.m. We have a hearing regarding the open space acquisition of the Chetty property, and then we also have a intermunicipal liquor license transfer for Koi restaurant on Wilmington Pike. It's in the shopping center where La Spada Steak is and the Sherwin-Williams. So we will convene again at 7 p.m.